Like I said in my email newsletter, in the past 6 weeks, my dryer has gone out, my refrigerator has gone out, my minivan started smoking up out of the Walmart, and now under my sink has gone out. So, things I'm not gonna do this year, have working electronics. Hi, Happy New Year. This is Rachel Norman from A Mother Far From Home. I'm a certified parent coach, baby and toddler sleep consultant, mother of 5. So in today's video, I want to talk about 5 parenting things that I'm going to not do this year, that I'm going to try to stop doing, and that maybe you should also stop doing. And I want to add in a quick kind of disclaimer here is that I don't, and I've tried it on my website, I try to do this exact same thing. I don't sit around and think about things that we should just do for the sake of it, right? If you don't have a problem, you don't have a problem. So even these things that I'm saying that I'm going to stop doing, it's not just like, what could I make a video about? But actually that I have found that these things that I did, all my tips come out of failures or, training and failures, and it all combined in there together. I did these things and it didn't work. It actually produced bad fruit in my life and in the lives of my kids. And so I have gradually began to stop doing them, and I'm making an even bigger effort now. And I just wanted to share them with you. The first one, boy, did I learn this the hard way. Let me just say, I traipsed all of my kids into a police station to get lectured by a police officer. Okay, I ain't gonna go into more details than this, but number one thing I'm gonna stop doing is abdicating some of my leadership and responsibility in the name of independence. Let me break that down a little bit. So I talk a lot about independence on my website. I mean, independence is good. I love teaching my kids life skills. I like when they know how to do things. They feel good when they know how to do things. But there comes a line, and you'll know it. Lord will show you, okay? You'll know it if it's true for you, okay? So I'm not putting this on you just because you care about independence. However, I found that because they were getting more and more independent as they were getting older, my youngest is 5 now, that I started just kind of letting them do all kinds of things because they could. And then I thought, hey, I don't gotta do it, you can do it, win-win. But gradually, in some months, maybe even years, or maybe even the past couple of years, that I gave them too much too much freedom to be independent, and then they became self-directed. That means they kind of filled a leadership vacuum. So while I thought, hey, I'm doing this good, I'm teaching my kids independence, oh yeah, baby, I'm sitting over here reading my book while they're sorting their life out. And to a certain extent that is true, but I also let them have too much freedom, and they became super wise in their own eyes. Super duper feeling like they were sort of the boss of their own life, which is true, but it's also really not true at this point in their lives as children. So let me give you some examples of what this actually looks like. I used to give them a lot of freedom in the mornings as to do all their own breakfast, and they can, right? But then there's a huge mess. Sometimes they're eating things that are snacks. There wasn't really rules around this independence, okay? So it wasn't like I've set out all of these things, or there's a shelf that has all the foods they can eat, or we've said these are the breakfast foods. They might be eating veggie sticks for breakfast, or they might be eating an entire bowl of frozen blueberries, and then before I know what's happened, it's on the floor and on their clothes, etc. So this is just an area I can still give them freedom in, but tighten up the rules or the processes, the routines. So I won't give too many examples or I'll take over the whole video, but this was huge for me. I realized I got a little bit lazy because my kids got older, and I let them do too much because it seemed easy at the time, but then it started to produce really bad fruit. The second thing I am not going to do this year that I think maybe you shouldn't do also, and this isn't a new one, but I'm going to focus more on my kids' heart than their actions. You're always parenting for the overall wellness and health of your child. You love them, but you're sort of tweaking their behavior when they're really little. Don't run in the road, don't hit your brother, whatever the case may be. But as they get older, you start to see patterns of behavior that come out of a similar heart attitude, or a similar maybe hurt or insecurity they're having, whatever the case may be. This is very hard if you're a
"What did you just say? What did you just say to me?"
type of person, and I really am. A lot of us are, depending on our personality, okay? This can be tricky, but sometimes you gotta literally ignore a behavior and dig straight into the heart, okay? And that doesn't mean you don't circle back around, make amends, whatever the case may be. But taking the attitude, I had realized I had sort of abandoned what was going on in there. Abandon is a strong word, but started to kind of ignore what was going on in their heart just to try to get them to act in a certain way. And we can all slip into this because we're the moms. We don't want the house to be chaotic, crazy, loud, like a zoo, whatever. Of course we don't. We just literally don't. So we do have to manage their behavior because if we don't, they won't. I mean, this is just how it is. You know, you might have some quiet kids and you think, I rock. But, you know, when you have a few or when you have varying personalities, you really do see that you have to be in there kind of generally controlling what's happening. But if you abandon what's happening at their heart level, then they might have worse and worse, more and more negative behavior, or they feel more and more rejected, or sometimes they even withdraw more and more, and you think, this child's really independent, but really they're just withdrawing and need you to pull them out. So this year I'm really gonna focus on what's going on in their heart. I think sometimes we can shift too much into positive parenting where we let their emotions rule our entire house. That's not what I'm talking about. But I wanna make sure that I'm looking past some behaviors and not just getting so triggered by a behavior that I don't look deeper. The third thing that I'm not going to do this year is to let home life get chaotic. And so this can happen to all of us, okay? But the spectrum is kind of like, oh, you know, things are pretty good. They start to slide a little bit, but not so big a deal. Now they're starting to slide a little bit. Momentum's going downhill. And then it starts going downhill in a really crazy way. And it takes a lot of effort to get back up to being okay. So I'm gonna stop this slide at the beginning this year if I can. Now this can happen to all of us. But I realized for me last year is that I'd put 3 or 4 of the kids had ball. We're 20 minutes from the ball field. And then it's like 3 times a day I'm driving to them. And it was just too much. I said, I can't do this. I actually can't do this. So I'm going to not let it get chaotic. When I feel the momentum pulling me down, you know what it feels like. What's happening? What can we do? What can we reset? Can it do it drastic? Like, okay, for the next 3 months, no sports or no lessons or whatever the case might be. That's, you know, just for us. Could be totally different for you. I'm not gonna let it get that far. And in fact, right now, what we have going on is the family routines reboot, which will help with this. So this deals with our family routines, things that the general family has going on, child routines. This is whether it's their chores, taking care of themselves, their hygiene, and our self-care routines, which is taking care of ourselves. Not like a mani-pedi, but like the regular things we do day in, day out that give us life. So the link for my family routines reboot is in the description. But I'm gonna really work hard on all of our family routines to make sure we're not gaining momentum going down into the pit of abyss where you just wanna escape life. Which leads me to my next point. Whenever I feel that pull down and it's all too much and life is just too crazy and I can't have any more caffeine that day because like I already hit the safe amount, is that instead of trying to escape out, I'm gonna escape in. And I've talked about this before in a blog post. At the times of greatest stress, we want to escape out. For example, my life is so chaotic right now. You know what would make me feel better? If the kids' bathroom was pretty. And I literally went in and had a demo scheduled in one day. It had a completely demolished bathroom. Do you want to know how that decreased and made my stress levels minimal? Well, let me tell you, it didn't. Then I had to get a plumber, and then this was the stupidest idea on planet Earth, but I don't think I'm the only ridiculous one, okay? Sometimes whenever life's overwhelming, we're like, this other thing will make it better. And we're actually heaping more stuff onto ourselves to try to escape what was hard. So this year, and I've already started to do this, and I'm gonna continue to do this more and more because now that I've noticed this pattern in myself, I'm gonna watch. When I feel like I want to escape, I'm gonna take this as a sign that I need to change some things so that I don't want to escape. In fact, I wrote a whole book about this, people. It's gonna come out later in the year, and I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you, I'm gonna have to beg you like a lot, just buy it. Please just buy the book. Just buy the book. I'm gonna stop escaping out of it and I'm gonna just dig in. The last thing I'm not gonna do this year, I'm not gonna let my kids learn things from other people. They need to learn from me. Now, I've always been pretty good about this. I mean, I've always thought I need to teach my kids this. I wanna prepare them. I'm like I'm an ENTJ, I'm at 8. I'm like, real world, baby, get ready, you know? So this kind of is my shtick, that's how I am. But I've noticed that some things that I feel like I just like don't wanna talk about with the kids, I need to talk about in an age appropriate way, in a way they can understand that isn't distressing or confusing. Because other people will talk about it to them. And then they will have heard it first in who knows what way. I can't control that way. My daughter actually came yesterday and said, you know how you like don't let us watch things or don't want us to read things that are above our age or not good for us, etc. And she's like, well, all the boys in my class told me da-da-da-da. Luckily, I had already had this. Now this is, I'm talking about our body awareness, birds and the bees type thing. I had already had this talk with my daughter. We did a book by Intoxicated for Life. I can link that below, but it's, you know, kind of God's plan for marriage and design and our bodies and etc. And I had already gone through this. So this was not, she didn't learn something for the first time from this little boy in her 5th grade class, okay? But if she would have, then this isn't how I want it to go down. So I want to say, what I want to tell you is they're literally going to learn about it anyway. So you are deciding you don't want to ruin their innocence. So you're not saying anything and you're not even preparing them, but the innocence is going to get ruined and you will not have been able to lay a pure, wholesome foundation for these things. I mean, this is quite a few different areas in life depending on what you're going through, okay? But for sure, body awareness, you know, there's the Good Pictures, Bad Pictures books to help prepare our kids if somebody else shows them. I have my kids come home and say, so-and-so snuck their phone on the recess. My 6-year-old's watching a TikTok. I'm like, what is happening? But I can't stop this. So this is what I have to prepare the kids for, because you can't, unless you just never let them leave the house, somebody's gonna show them something. And so this is something we need to be prepared for. So I'm just encourage you to pray through this, think through this, take the time to think, do I not want to tell them because I just don't want them to know? And if that's the case, is there really any chance they're not gonna know? Or, you know, back in the Sunday school room, somebody snuck them on my phone, who knows what they're looking at, and then boom, the first time they ever saw something inappropriate was literally at church. Okay, and so we really have to prepare our kids for this. I'm not going to avoid talking about things this year that I need to talk about in a wholesome way for them. I could go on and on, but you know, I keep on talking. So these are my 5 things that I really am just gonna not do this year. I hope that you could think about those things and maybe join me in those as well. And I will talk to you soon, Mama.